window and I'm going to work in pixels because that's what the specs for the assignment call for. And this file is supposed to be 600 pixels wide by 450 pixels high. And I'm going to click create, and there is my document. That's my page. The first thing I'm going to do, you guys, is go over here to my DPI, and I'm going to make sure that this is 300, highest resolution I can make. I don't want it to be 72. That's too low res. It'll be blurry. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 20 pixel margin on all four sides. If I click 20 in the first little window right here and make sure that the button is clicked for equal margins, it'll make all of them equal and I don't have to type it in 4 times. All right, now I need to save my file. So I'm going to go up to File, File, Save to Cloud. Okay, so look, I've got other files going on here. So I'm going to put this in my Studio 903 folder, and I'm going to name this thing according to the naming convention that we have for this class, which is P and the number of your class period underscore your name underscore the name of the project. So for this one, it's P3, because you guys are in period 3, underscore your name, underscore, we'll call this greeting card. And then I'll click save. And now this version that I'm working on is going to be, it's based in the web browser, and it should automatically save because I clicked that button before to say save, but I might just save it regularly myself manually just to make sure. Okay, here I go. Now remember, I had said I was going to work with line and repetition in my design, and that's what my sketch did, or sketch showed. So I'm actually going to get my sketch, and I'm going to go get my sketch, and I'm going to bring it in here. I have a picture of it on my computer that I took, and I'm going to put it right here in this document so I can use it as a reference. So I'm just going to make this window a little bit smaller so you can see my desktop, and I have a project folder right here for greeting cards. When I'm done with this project, I'm going to drag this folder into Studio 903. But for now, I keep it on my desktop so I can just throw everything in there that I need. If I double click on it, you can see it has a bunch of things in there that I've already started using and working with for this project. Here are videos that I'm cutting into a video right now for you guys in iMovie for a demonstration. Okay. So let's see, right here is the greeting card thumbnails. These are my sketches. And to drag images into Gravit, you simply click on the file and drag it and release and drop it right in there. And there are my sketches. And now I have them here as a reference point. It's super nice. I could actually use it as a template and draw things on top of it if I wanted to, but I'm just going to kind of keep it off to the side over here, maybe up there. Okay. First thing I need to show you is that, see how it's cutting off? It's only showing me what is on my page right now. That's because I'm not in multi-page view. So up here under pages, if I click this open, it's going to show me multiple page view, multi-page view. And then I can see the things that are off of my page that are around. It's called the pasteboard. This area that's the dark gray is called my pasteboard, and I can see the other things over there and use it as a reference. This image is a little bit big for me, so I'm going to resize it. To resize objects or images, you want to grab them from the corner, and you want to hold down Shift, and you can drag smaller or bigger. The reason why I want to drag from the corner and the reason why I want to hold down Shift is because I need to constrain the proportions of that image or that object. If I don't, and I just click and drag like this or click from the side, you can see that I'm distorting my image. It's skewing it, it's squishing it, it's stretching it. That is no bueno. You do not ever want to distort your images or your objects. If you need to resize something in proportion and maintain the proportion and the scale, you want to grab it from the corner. Any corner is fine, and hold down Shift. Just like we hold down Shift to make perfect circles and squares, we hold down Shift to constrain the proportions of objects and images. Okay. All right. Now let's start with line. So I'm going to grab up here on my toolbar. I'm going to click and grab the line. And I'm just going to draw one line to start with. And I'm going to click one point and drag, click and drag. I'm holding down my click and release. And that's the end of my line. And I just dragged it all the way across kind of the center diagonal point, the hypotenuse of my page. Now that line right now has a 1 point stroke on it. and I want to, it's a border or stroke. I want to make that thicker so I can see it. So, and it's also black. You can tell it's black there. So right now I'm going to just dial this up. I'm going to go to like maybe 20, typed in 20, makes it nice and thick, and then I can see my line. Let's change the color of it. If I click right here, I can just pick any of these colors, or I can slide my slider around up here in the color picker and pick from there. So I'm going to pick this pink, and that actually gives me the pink here, and then I can actually just, adjust it wherever I want it to if I want to go a little bit lighter. So there's my first line. I'm going to click back over here. Now to move things around like whole objects, I'll use the pointer tool. If I needed to select individual points, anchor points on something, I would select it with the sub selection tool. I want to make a bunch of copies of this because my element is line. So I want to make it a bunch of copies going on a diagonal across my whole page. There's a lot of different ways that I can make copies. I can copy and paste by clicking Command C or Control C, depending on what kind of a keyboard you have. Command or Control C will copy. Once I'm selected on it, Command C. And if I click off of it, Command V, that will paste out a second copy. It pasted it right on top of it, so I just moved it out of the way. So that's one way to make a copy, but there's other more efficient ways using keyboard shortcuts. That's a keyboard shortcut. I could simply click on the object and drag out a copy. So if I click on the object and hold down Option or the Alt key, I can click and drag and make a copy, and it makes a copy for me. That's super nice. That is faster than going up to selection, have it selected, go up to File, Edit, Copy, Paste. Okay, I mean, that did it too. And now there's another one, but the easiest and fastest way, and to put the copy down where I want it, is to simply select the object, click Alt or Option is the key on your computer keyboard, and drag. There it is. Now here's another cool keyboard shortcut. If I want to do the same thing I just did over and over and over again, I can duplicate my last action. That's Command or Control D. I'm really hoping that you are taking notes in your sketchbook and writing these things down while I talk to you, because you need to be making note of these kinds of keyboard shortcuts, okay? So Command D will duplicate my last action. Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D. Now let's bring them up to the north side of my canvas. I'll click on this, drag out a copy of it. Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D. And now I have a bunch of these lines. Now they're going off the canvas. It's called bleeding off the page, but it doesn't really matter because when I print and save this, it's going to crop it to basically what is on the page. So you don't need to worry about it going off the page, okay? But if it makes it easier for you to look at, you can turn that off. I'm not going to do that because I want to still see my sketch off to the side. Let's check in with our sketch. Okay, this is the one I'm making right here on the left. All right, there's a couple of other keyboard shortcuts I want to talk to you about, and you should write these down. Did you see how I just zoomed in on my canvas and I zoomed in right there? That's Command or Control plus. To zoom out, Command or Control minus. Command or Control plus and minus will zoom you in and out. Another one that you should know is the command to fit everything to the window. So that's Command or Control 0. It fits my page to the window. It's also the same thing as this up here, which is Fit All. So if I was zoomed in on something, right over here, Fit All, it clicks to fit all the objects into the viewport of the screen. Those are really important ones to know. If I needed to grab my canvas and move it around a little bit, I can hold down the space bar and look how my cursor turns into a hand, and then I can move things around to navigate around my canvas and then zoom in where I need to. All right, so this is what I'm going for. Diagonal lines, a big heart that says be mine like a heart candy, and I'm sweet on you is my main text. So I've got all my lines going right now, but I want to change the color of them. So I don't want all of them to be pink. I want to do like an alternating color on them. So I'm going to select every other line and change the color of those. To select multiple objects at one time, I can hold down the Shift key and click to select multiple things. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to hold down Shift, click on that, go to the next, every other one, hold down Shift, next one, hold down Shift, next one, hold down Shift. I'm still holding down Shift and just clicking on these. And I've got every other one of them selected. And now that I have every other one of them selected, I'm going to go to my borders. And let's change the color on the border to maybe like a light blue. Not blue like boy and girl. That's too obvious. Let's go to a pretty turquoise color. Okay. So that's pretty cool. I think I need one more pink line up here. All right, so now I changed the color. I got a nice little pattern going. And what I want to do here is I think maybe take the opacity of all of these lines down just slightly because I think it's a little bit much. So I'm going to select them all again, but instead of holding Shift and clicking on everything, I'm just going to drag my cursor over all of it and select everything all at one time. Now everything is selected and I can change the opacity right here. I'm just going to dial it down, look at what's happening on the page. The opacity makes it a little bit more transparent. And now that I have them all selected, I'm actually going to group them because look at my layers, how every single one of those lines is a path and it's a lot now. So I'm going to group these. Here's another keyboard shortcut. It's Command or Control G, or you can group things up here where it says group items up on the menu. Let's just say group items, group. Okay. So if I group the layers and I toggle open this layer group, I can see those are all my lines right there. See how I'm scrolling through them? It highlights them on the page. Pretty cool. But when I toggle it closed, it's all in one unit and one folder group. And I can lock it and I can turn it on and off all as a group. And that's going to be helpful as I start to put other things onto my document. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that heart. This is where we start making hearts. There's a lot of different ways to make hearts, okay? You can make a heart with the pen tool, several different ways. You can make a heart with objects. You can make a heart by bringing in an object from outside of this program and vectorizing it in here. You can do it with the freehand tool. Lots of different ways to make hearts. I'm going to show you a couple right here. The first one is with the pen tool. Now, if you hover over the pen, you can see the pen tool will draw lines for you and create shapes and closed shapes. You can do geometric shapes, which is straight lines, or you can click and drag out lines that have curves. The demo is a heart, which is kind of cool. The little thing, the demo that you highlight over is a heart. So I'm actually going to turn on the grid right now. And I think it might help me a little bit. If I go to the inspector panel, I'm going to turn on this grid and I'm going to actually make the grid 20 by 20 pixels. And this is going to help me to actually draw my hearts a little bit more equally. Let's do the first one with the pen tool in a geometric pattern with only lines, straight lines. So I'm going to start, let's see, I'll start right here. And I'm going to click up to right here. And I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to click there. And then I'm going to click there. Then I'm going to click there. Then I'm going to click over here. Now with the grid, it's kind of locking it to the grid for me. Click there and click there. Now, if you use the pen tool and you go back to the first point that you started, you can close it and now it's a complete shape. So let's fill that with a little bit of color. And there's one heart. Let me move it out of the way so you can see it. Now I can make it bigger, holding down Shift, or smaller. Okay. Now I just made that with the points there, but you could actually round it out a little bit more if you took a little bit more space. So if I went here and here and here and here and here, right? I could create a different shaped heart that's a little bit more rounded out. Oops, did not mean to drag that. So this is a heart just with straight lines using the pen tool. Cute, they're cute, those hearts. All right, to make the heart with the pen tool and curves is a little bit more complicated. The pen tool is one of the most important tools that you can learn how to use in graphic design in any of the programs, and it takes time, especially to draw curves, because it's not totally intuitive when you first start doing it. You click and you drag while holding the click, and it creates curves. So depending on how big that you drag and how long you drag, it creates a handle, and the length of the handle creates a curve depth. So the shorter the handle, the more shallow the curve, the bigger the handle, the deeper the curve, the more dense it is. All right, so now I'm going to draw a heart using the pen tool with curves. So I'm going to click right down here at the bottom to start the base of my heart at the bottom point. And I'm going to click and drag out. I'm going to click another anchor point here and drag straight up to create that curve in the heart. Then I'm going to come back over here to the center point and click and drag down to create the top peak of my heart on the left side. And while I still have my click down, I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to drag my handle up till it's about the same size and same place as the one on the left. And then I'm going to bring my my curve down to meet this line using the grid so it meets and is symmetrical with the other side. And I'm going to click and drag. Here I'll hold Shift for a minute just to drag it like that. And then I'm just going to click one more time and close the heart. Now, once my heart is completed, I can go to the subselect tool and I can modify it further if I wanted to. I could change the shape even more and do other things I want to do with it. Okay, so let's just give that a color. Make it pink, red, and we'll move it out of the way. You could also make hearts by creating half of the heart and duplicating it and then grouping it together. So let's use the pen tool again and we'll just create half the heart. And I'm going to click and drag out a curve and click here and drag out the curve using the guide kind of to help me. So there's half of a heart. It's filling with that color. I'll click back on this anchor point right there to stop my line, my path. And then I'm going to go to the pointer tool and I can make a copy of this right here by Command C, Command V to make a copy. So Command C, Command V, and I made a copy. Or I could simply hold Alt, click, and drag to make a copy. Now I've got two sides of the heart. I need to flip one of them. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say transform and flip horizontal. And there's my heart. Now, if they were not lined up properly, let me zoom in a little bit. I could line them up and get them a little bit closer. This has a little black border on it, so I'm going to take the black border off on both of those. And now the heart looks pretty good. Command G or Control G to group them together, and now I have a heart there. There's another way to create a heart. Another way to create a heart is simply to go to the libraries, and here you're not creating it, you're just using an existing symbol. Search up heart. Look at all these different hearts that you can see over here, okay? And you can just simply click on the symbol now and make it bigger or smaller. Hold down Shift to make sure that you're constraining the proportions. I don't really like to use the symbols because I feel like it's a little bit of a cheat and I want you guys to create the graphics yourself, but they are there if you need them, okay? So another way to do this heart is to create it with shapes. So I'm going to make it with a circle and a square. So I'm going to start with a circle, holding down Shift to create a perfect circle. And then I'm going to create a rectangle that's about the same size. Move that out of the way. So now I have a circle and a square. Let's make this square pink so we can see where we're going, and we'll make this circle pink so we can see where we're going. So what I want to do is I want to cut this circle. I'm going to move this down. I'm going to cut this circle in half using the slice tool. So I'm going to just slice right here through the circle, the center of the circle. That gives me two parts. So there's one part and there's one part there. Now I can rotate each of these. Once I rotated those, I can rotate my square and bring that up here. And then I can rotate these further to kind of line them up. Oh, it's the grid's on right now, so I might need to turn off this grid for a second so I can move these in. Yeah, there we go. So I just want to kind of line them up like that. And there we go. Now you can see I've got a heart with a couple of different colors, so if I make all of them the right color, a single color, then my heart is good and I can grab everything together. Let's see if it allows me to merge them. Yes, and I just created a union. Now I've got a unit that'll move by itself. I've got these extra points over here from when I cut it, so I could get rid of those if I need to. There we go. I'm just clicking on them to delete them. Clicked on that and I can delete it. All right, so that's another way to make a heart. All right, then one more way to make a heart is to actually vectorize an image that you bring in from the internet. So I'm going to just go to a new tab and I'm going to select, do a Google image search for heart icon. And there is the image right there. So I'm going to click on that. Now this is a pixel raster based image, but I can bring it into my program and vectorize it. Let's actually drag it off onto our desktop and then I can come over here and I'm going to drag that image that I just put onto my desktop into this file. There we go. So I just dragged it in there and now I've got a big giant heart. Let me make it a little bit smaller. Now, when you are resizing photographs that you bring in, remember this is a photograph. Even though it said heart icon, it's still a photograph of this heart. You have to hold down the shift key as you're resizing things so that you don't distort them. That way it'll constrain the proportions. If I didn't hold down the shift key, I could do weird things with this heart and that's distorting it. I don't want to do that. All right, so make sure you hold down the shift key to resize things and grab from one of the corner anchor points. All right, so here's my heart, and I can't really change the color of this heart because this is a picture of a red heart. But if I wanted to modify it and really customize it, I can vectorize it, turn it into a mathematical path, and then I can adjust it. So first I'm gonna make sure I'm selected on it, and then I'm gonna go over to modify and click down on path, vectorize image. It's gonna take a second to do that, and once it does, now this thing is a path, and I can tell because I can go to the sub-select tool, click off of it, click on it, and you can see that it's got all these anchor points around it. And now it's an editable image. Okay, now I have the ability to change the color. And if I get closer to it and I look at the sub-select tool, I can see it's made up of anchor points and lines now. And so the whole thing is completely editable to me. Whereas before, this was the heart, that's just a picture. I can't do anything to it. Okay, so if you bring in a picture, an image that's pixels into Gravit Design, you better vectorize it. How did I do that again? I go up to Modify, Path, and Vectorize Path. Okay, so there's my heart. Now, I've showed you how to make several different hearts. I'm gonna get these guys out of here for now. I gotta go back to them. All right, I'm gonna clean up my layers real quick, because I got a lot of stuff going on over there in the layers that I need to fix. So you can see that heart, when I vectorized it, it came in with a bunch of different layers in here. So I want to see if I can actually, it's only this one layer, that's the main heart, and that's what I want to keep. So I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to get rid of the rest of the group. There's my heart. And this rest of this group, I'm gonna delete it. And I'm gonna rename this by double clicking on it and call it heart. And then what is this group right here? Oh, these are my other hearts. Which I'm gonna lock and I'm gonna turn them off so I don't need to see them right now. These are all those other hearts. We'll put them into a group by themselves and just turn them off so we don't need to look at them right now, and lock it. Okay, this group right here, that's my lines. Let's name it. It's locked. I gotta unlock it to name it. Lines. Okay, I'll move this. I'm gonna move that down there. All right, so I've locked the lines, they're visible, I've got other hearts off and they're locked, and there's my greeting card thumbnail. So let's do this. Let's start resizing this heart right here so that we can make it look more like this. I'm gonna grab it from the corner and I'm gonna hold down Shift and I'm gonna resize it. And I'm gonna put it over here. I'll grab this little, if I hover over this little point right here, I can rotate it. So I'm going to rotate that object. It's okay if some of it's going off of the canvas. We can still tell that it's a heart. I'm actually going to turn off the grid now, I think. Off. Here we go. This heart does it have a border on it? No. Now I have my heart. I'm going to put a little effect called a drop shadow on it to make it look like it's got a little depth, like it's a piece of candy. So I'm going to go down here to effects and go to drop shadow and click the plus sign, and I'll add a drop shadow. It's on there right now, but it's very subtle. So I'm going to actually increase the number. Now you can see it's a little bit deeper. I just put 5 in there. I'm going to put 5 on the X value, 5 on the Y value. Now I got a drop shadow on it, and it looks like it's off the page a little bit, pops it off the page. Okay, I'm gonna lock that heart, and now we're gonna start adding text. So I'm gonna go to the text tool, and I'm gonna click right on top of the heart, and I'm gonna say, be mine. This is the text that is on one of these candies. That's kind of my concept. I gotta format this text, so I want mine to be on the second line. I'm gonna highlight it. It's aligned left right now. I want it to be centered because that's how it's presented on a candy. And I need to choose a bigger font that looks like it's actually stamped down into this heart. So I'm gonna pick something that's a little bit thicker and heavier in weight. Let's pick Paytone 1. That's cool, that's fine. And then I'm going to increase the size of this to about 70 points. So it's nice and big. I'm going to pick a different font. I don't know if I like that one or not. Nope. Taller Rimetto. That's super cute. Okay, now the word be is a little bit far away from the word mine. That's called line spacing or leading. So here in this program, it's listed right here under spacing for the line, and it's at 100%. That's based on the size of the font, but it's too far apart for me right now. I want to tighten up that line a little bit. So if I go under 100%, it'll tighten it this way. If I go over 100%, it'll spread it farther apart. So I'm going to go to about 70% and see what that does. And see how it tightened up the line. And now I'm happy with the way that that looks. So I want to go to the pointer tool, grab this text box, and I'm going to rotate it so it's on the same angle as the candy. Now I want this text to look like it's actually imprinted down onto this piece of candy heart. So I'm going to use an effect on it down here. I'm going to put an inner shadow on it, not a drop shadow. I'll click plus to add an inner shadow. I'm actually going to change the color to something like a light pink because you can't really see right now when it's black that it has an inner shadow on it. So there it has an inner shadow on it, but I think that we want the inner shadow to be a little bit more intense. So I'm going to increase it to 2 on the X and 2 on the Y. Why won't it go? There we go. And it's got a little depth to it now. I don't have an extra one here. I don't need it. And I could change the color of that if I want. It's kind of a weird color. So let me go back to that main pink I was working on and dial down so it's in the same tone. And then if I wanted to still make it feel like it's more part of the candy, I could bring down the opacity slightly, a little bit. So I could see some of the blue through there. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's lock that. Let's name it first, be mine, so we know what that layer is. And we will lock it. Now I'm going to make the text over here that says I'm sweet on you. So just with another text, I'm going to draw the text box about right here. And I'm drawing an actual size of the box because I know I want my text to fill in about that amount of space. This automatically chose Patua 1 for my text. I don't know if I like that or not, but let's see. I'm going to use all caps. I'm sweet. Next line, on, hit return, on you. I'm sweet on you. And I actually like that font, but let's select it and see if we can find something different. I want something that complements the font that I have on the candy, but it's not the same font. So, nope, that doesn't make sense. Using script font with all caps doesn't really work. I'm sweet on you. That's kind of cute. It has like a 80s vibe to it a little bit. Okay, but I don't like it all center justified like that. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to go to left justify. That way it kind of wraps around the heart a little bit. And I also don't like that it's black. So I'm going to change the color of that font. I'm going to go back to my color palette and maybe pick a purple color, but a little bit darker purple if I dial it down here. There we go. I'm sweet on you. I kind of want it to be, the line spacing to be a little bit bigger so that it goes from top to bottom of my margins. So let me select the text again. And right now the line spacing is at 100, but if I increase it to maybe 100%, that opens it up a little bit. Let's go to 120 and see if that does it. Yeah, that's fine. I'm sweet on you. Let's lock that. Let's name it. Okay. And then I'm going to lock it. I have one more piece of text that I need to add on here, and that is my designed by credit. For your designed by credit, you can be creative. This is kind of like your salutation. It can be created by somebody. It could be designed just for you with love by whatever you want to say. Just put it on there, but it needs some kind of a credit for you. So I'm going to put that right here in this space. That's where I've decided I'm going to put it. And it's giant right now. I don't know why it's automatically going to like the last font that I selected. I don't really want it to be that one. I want it to be the same as this, so it's a little bit more consistent. So what was the name of this font? This one's called Nova Round. So I'm gonna select this text. I will say I don't really love setting text in Gravit. It's not as easy as you'd like. It takes a lot of clicking around. So this is Nova Round. Let's make this text much smaller. It's 70 points right now. I'm gonna go to 10 points. Don't go smaller than 10. That's pretty tiny. Let me select this text. Created just for you by Laura Lee. And I'm gonna use all lowercase on purpose. That's a choice. Okay, do if you want, or all uppercase. When you're in the world of design, you can break the rules of grammar and punctuation a little bit for your design, not for your reflections and what you write on your Spark pages, but for your design, you can break the rules of punctuation and grammar a little bit. But I will say, if you have a headline on something and you've got some words capitalized and other words not, it needs to be intentional. That's typography. So this is still a little bit small for me. I think I'm going to increase the size of this font slightly. Let's see if I dial it up to, I'm saying dial it up. It's not really dialing. It's just typing in and increasing it. So there's that. And I'm going to pick, let's make this text the same color as this. The easy way to do that is to go to this eyedropper and come over here and say, I want that text to be this color. And it just changed that text to be that color. I'll move it down slightly. I'm using the arrows on my keyboard to just make very small adjustments to it. It's centered right now. So if I right justify it in that box, it also helps me to align it a little bit better. Let's name that. That layer is created by something like that. And we can lock it. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see what my design looks like. Now, this is the basic foundation, right? This is basically doing what I said I was going to do in this design. Diagonal lines, text, heart. I'm going to turn this off so we can see what it looks like in preview. Now, it's okay. I think I could do some other things to it. I think that this text might be a little bit hard to read over here on the left side, so maybe I want to put a block of color kind of on 2/3 of my image area. Let's put a little bit of pink or something on there. And it's on top of everything. So let me get it underneath the text and underneath, there it is underneath the text. Let's get it underneath the heart. Changing the order of it over here. And let's change the opacity of that box so we can see some of those stripes through there. And now it just adds to the design a little bit and makes that text a little bit more visible. Before I do anything else, I'm going to click save to make sure I've saved my work. It's saving to the cloud, so that's good. While we're here, just make note of what my screen looks like. This is my page or my canvas that you're looking at. My entire design is visible. You can see it. You can see my inspector panel. So my size of my file is there, including my margins and my DPI. Over here on the left, you can see that my layers are there and they're labeled and they're sort of organized. When you take a screenshot to turn into me, this is all the stuff that I need to see. So that's going to be a full screenshot of your entire desktop, or it's going to be a snapshot that goes from here to here so I can see everything. That is what I'm asking for you to turn in when you turn in a screenshot. It shows me how you build your file. Okay, folks, what I want to show you right now is how to export your file to be able to place it on your Spark page. So what I'm going to do is go up to File and Export. If I go to Export, I can do a JPEG or a PNG. For this project, I'm asking you to export as a JPEG. The only problem is if I do it from here, these are not going to export in my full 300 DPI resolution. And you can see that some of these other options don't give me the full resolution that I want. So rather than go up to the File menu and export my document that way, I'm going to go down here to, let me hide this, down to this little tab right here, which says Make Exportable. And I'm going to click the plus sign to add an export. And here I can export individual pieces. If I wanted to just export the heart or export the text box, I could do that. But I want the whole page. So I don't want to be individually selected on anything. I want to make sure that I'm selected on the page. Then I'm going to click down here under size and choose 300 DPI. Don't worry about anything for the suffix. And then for the file type, I'm going to click the drop down and select JPEG. Once I have those forms filled in, I can click this button right here to say export, and a pop-up window will happen. And this, I want to choose the project folder for this project on my desktop, and that's where I want to put it. And here I'll use the same naming convention that we've been talking about. P for period, the number of your class period. I'm just going to put the number sign there. Underscore your name, underscore greeting card. And this is a JPEG, and I'll click save. The image I just exported, that is for my Spark page. Now remember, I still need to take a screenshot. The screenshot is to show my entire workspace. So I can see my canvas is right here, my design is visible, my pages, my layers are there and organized, and I can see my inspector panel that shows me I've got margins and DPI set correctly. So for me, I'm taking a screenshot on my Mac. It's a Shift Command 3, and it takes the entire desktop, or Shift Command 4, and I can take a screen snap. Okay, those just went over to my desktop. So I'm going to take those two things right there, and I'm going to put them into my greeting card folder. Now I'm going to head over to the project. I'm going to look at it in the student view. This is how you submit the assignment. You would click Submit Assignment. Where it says Choose File, that's where I want you to add the screenshot. So let's pick the screenshot I just took. That's this one at 627. Click Open. Down here in the comments is where I'm going to paste my Spark link. So over here, I've already created my Spark page submission for this assignment. There it is right there, greeting card. I've got my paragraph. I've got all this going on. I've already added my sketches, and here's my final image. Now the image that I put here, that is the image I just exported from Gravit Designer. That's what I do with the JPEG, is I put it right here. So once I've got this, I'm going to click share, publish and share link. I'll make sure I update the link, click update link. Once it updates, I copy that link. I come back over here to the project. I paste that link, Command or Control V, right there, and I submit the assignment. Woohoo! The assignment has been submitted. Before I do anything more, I'm going to check my submission details to make sure everything went in okay. There's my screenshot. Notice it has annotation tools up here, and that's so that I, Mrs. Giuliano, can make annotation comments on the document that you turn in here, so I can make comments about what you've turned in. If I were you, I would check that public link in a new tab just to make sure that that link actually looks correct and it is the most updated version that you want me to see of your Spark page. Now remember, I've got a lot more on mine than you have on yours, but there's my greeting card. February 2021, I've got a headline and a date. It looks good. I've got captions on everything, my discovery, innovation, and growth. Reflection is at the bottom, and I'm good to go. That is how you submit your assignment.